My grandparents was very nice people, very warm people, and they used to have a son who was working as an, let's say, he was forced to go to Germany to work in a manufactory. So my grandparents were quite old at that time and suffering of the absence of their son in the enemy. He was in the enemy territory. So my grandmother said, look, if one lady in Germany can take care of him as I can take care of those ones here, just giving them some place to sleep and some piece of bread to eat, why not? In fact, young soldiers were not really bad person. They were soldiers following the instruction. But when they arrived, they realized that it was not, that the information was wrong. And they arrived in the street, in this area. It was January 45, very cold weather. It was snowing, there was some ice, and they were really not tired but exhausted. So they came in this street, I think there were 37 or 38 people, soldiers, and they were, you know, ringing at the door of people to ask for some help. And Arnel with two others came here, and that's what my mother just explained to you. That's how they met.
No, it's not a real good photo. That's Mama and Papa Moneville and their daughter Jean, and the three GIs that were staying in their house. Myself and Cleo Parsons and Bud Black. And when we were there, of course, you got to realize that they didn't have too much to eat. And here we had three guys coming in off the street, and they wouldn't let us go to the mess. No, they had to eat. We had to eat with them. Well, at that time, my feet, if you're noticing that, I'm wearing wooden shoes because I couldn't get my other boots back on after I took them off. My feet had swollen up so much. But Jean, she had some concoction she was putting in the water and soaking my feet every night. Finally, they came back to almost reasonable condition.
My grandfather used some wooden shoes to work in the garden. Of course, he was retired, but you know, he used to keep small garden and so on and so on. But with that terrible winter, and more especially with the fact that they were living in the basement, at that time there was no central heating system like today. So my grandfather always was cold and used to keep the wooden shoes to walk even inside the house. But when Arnel saw that, he was really enthusiastic about the shoes, so they were sharing the shoes, and he wanted to wear as much as possible. And of course my grandfather was leaving the shoes to him, so he was staying downstairs with them next to the heating system. I'm talking here about Arnel, and wearing the wooden shoes. So after the war, my grandfather bought a pair of that kind of shoes and have sent to Arnel.
How long were they here? How long did they stay with you?
She doesn't remember exactly, but should be not less than 1 month.
1 month?
Something like that, yes. Plus ou moins un mois.
So they had a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, and of course...
With the snowball fights and the other photograph.
Yeah, the next one, yes, of course, they were young soldiers, and you know, there was some kind of, the only job of the work, that's what she explained to me. She explained to me that the only serious job of the work for all those guys was the appel in the morning. I don't know the word in English. So every morning they used to be outside wearing their dress and checking if everybody was still there. It was maybe 20 minutes, even less, for sure less per day. And after that, all of them used to go home. But Arnel used to take his original position, lying on the floor in front of the the heating system, the heater, wearing the wooden shoes, and many of his colleagues then afterwards used to come, and it was that kitchen here, and the ground was something like the meeting point here of the street. A few of them used to come after the appel, and they started to talk or to sing or to spend time together here in my grandparents' kitchen in the basement.
The other question I have, and I have two more questions, and they both relate to Ma and Pa, I guess it would be Pa Moneville's favorite wine. You talk about the wine when they first had it, I guess when Arnel departed in 45, and then maybe talk about when he came back and shared a bottle of wine.
My mother just explained that it was an evening. They were having dinner together, Arnel, my mother and my grandparents, when suddenly one soldier came here and informed Arnel that they weren't leaving, suddenly leaving. So it was a shock for everybody, even for him. He couldn't finish his dinner, and my mother prepared for that dinner French fried potatoes, French fried potatoes that he really liked, because that was not usual, I think, for American to eat that in America.
Nous dormions dans les caves, mais lui, il n'avait pas peur.
So he went to his room upstairs to pack everything, but before leaving, my family, mother, grandparents, they were crying. And my grandfather said to Arnel, look, you have to leave, but let's take 5 minutes. I have here good bottle, Châteauneuf du Pape, that I bought quite a long time ago, before the war, of course. Let's open a bottle and drink it, because, well, it's, let's say, some farewell, but who knows when and if we will meet each other, if we will see each other alive. But I hope that if we can meet each other, will be free, of course. And they finished the bottle. And a few years ago, in 1982, when Arnel and Dorothy came back for the first time here in Teu and in my family, my father opened one of the bottles and we could enjoy it all together.
And Papa Moneville had a special, what do you call it, vintage wine that he had made, and he had 4 bottles of it. And so when we left, the day we left, he went down into his wine cellar and he come up with this bottle of wine, and we all drank of the wine, and we drank the whole bottle. And then there was tears flowing like the Mississippi that day. And so when Dorothy and I went back over, I had written off and on with him for a number of years. And Dorothy and I went over to Europe. I think that was in 81 or 82, somewhere around there. And so we went over to see the Monvilles, and of course, Mama and Papa were gone. They had passed away. But Jean says that he went down in the wine cellar and got another one of those bottles of wine. There was 3 of them. And then when Dorothy and I was there, we consumed that bottle. And then she had a daughter that got married, and so they had one of the bottles at her daughter's marriage. And Jean says, I'll save the last bottle for when you come back again.
Yes, I think so. When my parents get married in, well, they were 28 years old, they opened the bottle. But that's wine that we keep for a very big event. And we said that even yesterday, because we were talking about Arnel, of course, and we said 2 bottles, we'll keep them for, well, if they come back, the family, and Arnel Robinson comes, we keep it for them.